What up, 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 America? What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Rod and Don. Yes, we are back again. Another fly app. We about to each other in the head. It is the Brooklyn Beers and Ball Sports Talk Show. We are in the house one more time. We got so much stuff to talk about. We coming down to the wire, NBA, who's going to be in the play-in, who's solidified in their seeds. We got to talk about all the stuff going on, NFL free agency, LeBron. We got Wiggins. We got a lot of stuff we're going to hit today. But listen, before my boy Don and I start to really get into everything, we need you to do us a favor. As always, we need you to subscribe. We need you to smash that like button. We need you to share right here on YouTube and on Facebook. Sending y'all much love out there. Thank y'all. And we need y'all to comment. Give us some love. You know what I'm saying? Bring the heat. Bring the smoke. We ready for it all. We boys from Brooklyn. We ain't afraid of nothing and nobody. So listen, Big D, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. Somebody's team is teetering on 10th and 11th place. But listen, it's all good. It should be a good show. It should be a good show. A lot of stuff has transpired, but we'll get into all of the good stuff. All right, let's get into it, man. All right, well, let's start off the show with what we've been kind of discussing over the last, 2 or 3 episodes. We're going to talk about Ja Morant.
Yeah.
And so finally, the NBA has decided to rule on his suspension. And when it first came out that the NBA was going to suspend him for 8 games, I was like, okay. I wasn't totally surprised because I figured one way, shape, or form he would be back for the playoffs, right? Because the NBA is not in the business to hurt themselves and hurt the product that they put out, right? So I was expecting him to be back, and 8-game suspension over the time that he already served, he would still be back with maybe 5 games left, right? He's a young guy. He can get back into game shape in no time. So I was like, okay, cool. And then as I looked at it, it was 8 games total. So the NBA, they allowed Memphis to pretty much dictate and call the shots and kind of, pretty much massage the situation. Initially, I thought that they got ahead of it so that when the NBA did rule and they did suspend him, it wouldn't be as bad. But it would still allow him to be in for, the regular season. But the NBA only added 2 games on it. So a total of 8 games suspended for all of the things that we've seen and have heard have transpired. The NBA did conclude that Ja Morant indeed did have alcohol in his system.
Wow.
So he did his interview. And so, Ja Morant usually has all of these, he has all kind of fronts and, gold fronts in and diamond encrusted. But now he's doing the interview with Jalen Rose and he's trying to look like, a schoolboy. Like, yeah. And he was talking a little robotic, and once again, still staying on code. The gun's not mine. And okay, if it got there, just from the fact that he was intoxicated, inebriated. He had alcohol.
Right.
And he had a firearm. I don't care what state it is. Right. Those two do not mix. You're not supposed to have alcohol and firearms, rocking at the same time. So that should have been a problem. Yep. So my question to you is, I'll say this. I'll make a statement, then I'll ask you a question. I'm disappointed in the NBA as to the level of suspension that they gave. Pretty much Memphis, of course, they weren't going to hurt themselves. And of course, Memphis jumping ahead because Memphis, when they initially said he would be away from the team for 2 games, then they added to it with an additional 4 games.
Right.
They didn't say he was suspended. They didn't say that he was going to be away from the team without pay. It was all supporting. Everybody was, we want to give him the time he needs.
Right.
No, if it's a suspension, it should be a punishment that is known and should act as a deterrent so that other people or
Correct.
other players within that team or in the league should
Right.
understand that this behavior is not tolerated. But
Right.
so we don't know if 6 of the 8 games he's even are suspended or if he's still getting paid for those.
Right.
Now, the NBA did say that they were suspending him for 2 games to total 8, and those would be non-paid. But my question to you is, what's the message that the NBA is giving by such a light and soft slap on the wrist? What do you say?
It's an imbalance message, and it's a message that actually, if I'm a player in the league, somebody that's an NBA player, I'm good, I'm a star, getting into all of the little categories we've been, going back and forth in, right? I'm looking at this and I'm going, clearly, there's a delineation between the superstar, guys who perhaps could potentially be the face of the league down the line, guys that the NBA wants to, at least it appears to be, that they want to build their brand around, and guys who clearly, the fans love, and their box office, and every city they go into, their must-see TV, right? It's definitely showing something that is in balance. It's clearly partiality as far as I'm concerned, because what they did in this situation, as far as the NBA is concerned, it was poorly handled. It really was. To add on the suspensions and combine it to the games that he missed for what we believe was to be time away from the team, right? So it wasn't even really categorized as a suspension. It was just Ja's away from the team. We're giving him time to, heal and figure himself out. He's in a clinician type of situation right now. He's getting help. That kind of thing, right? There was no real formal suspension, no real identity or definition around the games that he was missing, other than that the fact he was going to just be away from the team. And then you end up retroing his games that he missed with the suspension that you gave him. So you'd say, I'm thinking that like you. I thought it was 8 additional games to the games you already missed. Right. It was retro. So it was 2 games in total, and that was it, And I mean, come on, with the amount of money this guy's making, I mean, look, he lost some bread if he didn't get paid for those games, but at the end of the day, right? It's not gonna hurt him. Now, he could miss out, from what they're saying, $30 million from not playing enough games. He wouldn't qualify to be in I'm about to say all pro. I'm thinking NFL, all NBA. All right. So he misses out on that. But at the end of the day, right? I mean, nobody really cares, because in the minds of people, Ja's all NBA, right? Everybody knows that. So, whether that's ever claimed like that in terms of it being officially labeled by the voters, it doesn't matter. And we know why he didn't get it this year, because he didn't play in the game, not because his stats or his performance didn't suggest so. So, D, to answer to your question, I think it's a bad look for the NBA. You showed favoritism, and I'm interested to see what will happen when you get another good player, another superstar, another star, and they get into similar issues or even something that's of a lesser degree. Let's see what they're going to do with them, because now you set a very bad precedent. You did not, really set something that would appear to be stern, and of course, and I say that with some pun intended, because David, if David was alive, David wouldn't be having it. You know what I'm saying? David did not play, and so you would have definitely saw a different kind of ramification rendered. Had he been the commissioner, or when he was a commissioner, we saw similar situations in what he did and how he handled those things. So I'm interested to see how things go forward. If a player again has some missteps, mishaps, and some poor judgment, how are they going to handle that? Because I think Ja definitely did some things, D, when you look at these things successively that happened, and you look at just within a short period of time. It's not like it was months apart. I mean, you could see poor judgment after poor judgment, and then a culmination of these things within a short period of time. And technically, all you gave him was a 2-game suspension, and you let the team handle it. Like you said, I think that's a good point you brought up. They actually, drove the narrative. They took the helm in terms of how this punishment was going to be, what it was going to look like, and how we was going to purport it to the public. And that wasn't a good thing at all. Something you definitely wouldn't have seen in the NFL, that's for sure. But so I'm disappointed, and I think that's the message that they send, which is a very lopsided one, and it's very, 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 very partial.
Also the problem is that Memphis is a dysfunctional team.
Very.
So he spent 2 days in Florida doing who knows what.
Who
and
knows
and
what?
I do think everybody can change, right? So change can
Of
happen,
course.
but change is not immediate,
Right.
right?
Right.
So being away from the team for 2 days, or being away from being in Florida in treatment. Now, my
Right.
question is, what kind of treatment? Does he have possibly a problem with alcohol? Does he have a drug problem?
Right.
If it's just learning how to deal with anxiety or fame, because I think he kind of alluded to, I got to
Yeah.
learn how to deal with fame better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in 2 days, you're still going to be famous.
Right.
You're still going to be wealthy. You're still going to be the face of
Right.
that team, and you're
Very true.
going back to a team
Right.
not laden with veterans.
Right.
You're
No.
you're going to a team that has a high level of dysfunction, and since
Yep.
you've been gone, even the players that I thought were kind of even keeled, Desmond Bain seems like a even keeled kind of
Right.
player.
Right.
He's hitting people in the lower region. So it's
Yeah.
like, yo,
Yeah.
you're going to a dysfunctional team. Now we already know what Dylan Brooks is about, right? Dylan Brooks is about he just
That
it's
dude is
all dysfunction. It's
very,
all
very.
he's a poor man's Draymond Green. He
Yeah.
tries to. He's even said he wanted to be Draymond Green. When
Right.
they interviewed him and he was in college, he wanted to be Draymond.
Right.
He wanted to be a Draymond for his team. But
Right.
I think he's doing it the wrong way. So
Definitely.
my question is with him coming back, and he supposedly had gotten the help that he needed, going back into the dysfunction and that being part of the problem, trying to create this bad boy image,
Right.
or feeling like you guys have to overdo it. Will we see the same Ja after just a few games or in the playoffs? Will
Right.
it depending on who they play? If
Right.
they play the Warriors, will
Right.
that old man will that old man come up? And it could happen
Very much
because
so. Yeah.
Memphis has completely controlled the narrative.
Yeah. Big time.
Now, all away games. So when they go to Miami, it's obviously the major cities. They don't care if they go to Cleveland, right?
Right.
But if you go to
Right.
Miami, New York, Chicago, you go home. There is no overnight anymore. So they're
No.
doing everything possible to really kind of shelter and
Right.
create a shelter around Ja. But
Right.
but the question is, if you have to do all these measures, is
Right.
he really ready?
Right.
Has he really gotten the help and really understands you now? He part of his interview, he says, "Now I know what I stand to lose." Now you know. It's
Oh
listen.
gosh.
I
Yeah.
would give anybody an opportunity and chance to
Sure.
change,
Of
but like
course.
I explained to you when we had Floyd on, I explained to you I don't believe Ja Morant has changed one iota, and I don't think it's going to be years before something else comes up. The NBA clearly made a statement without making a real statement,
Correct.
and in any case, when you see that under normal circumstances, the NBA would have an opinion on something and they were silent, that should have been the indication that this kind of outcome was going to take place. And Ja Morant is not on a short leash. He will be able to mix it up and get into stuff. And once again, they will coddle him because if they want to hand you the keys, they're going to hand you the keys. And if they want stuff to go away, believe me, it'll go away.
No, you know what, D, you're right, and I'll be honest with you. And I don't mind saying this, but it really makes me now think about that, right? Because I was definitely on record to say that Ja's on a short leash. If he does something of similar magnitude, there's a good chance that the consequences could be even more dire. But you know what? Now, as we're talking this out and we see how the NBA handled it, which really they didn't, if you will, right? You're right. I mean, I just feel like this guy is gonna be able to still kind of do what he does. They're going to put these soft measures around him, right? Like you just talked about. And I don't know if that's going to really change anything. And really what saddens me is when we go back to Kyrie Irving earlier this year and what he did and how swift, how stern, how just concrete and deliberate.
Decisive. They were decisive.
Very
yes,
decisive
absolutely.
in their decision on how to handle Kyrie. And it just, again, goes to show that, again, there's levels to this. There's things in which there's people, and there's places, right? We heard a wise man once say, it's either a person, place, or thing, right?
That's right.
So it just depends on who the person is, what the place is, and what the thing is in terms of what you can and cannot say. And some things are intolerable and some things are tolerable. And clearly we see the contrast between what we saw earlier this year with Kyrie versus what we see here with Ja. And so, it's a sad situation. But, I'm lock in step with you on this thing. I think the NBA did a poor job handling this. And Memphis is a highly dysfunctional team. And I'll say this last thing. I dropped it with 20 seconds or less. I'll just say, man, look, listen. Memphis is a team. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know. What is it? Glenn Taylor's their coach, I think his name is. I don't know what it is or what they're trying to do there, but they need to get them boys on the rack. This team is unproven. They're young, they're erratic, and I don't know what type of image they're trying to portray, but this team is laughable. They really are. And give them credit, they have been very successful without Ja. They've proven that even last year when he was out with injury. They can win without him. They can win games. I don't know if they win a series without him, but they can win games. But at the end of the day, it's a really good team. They're well coached, if you will. But this persona, this bad boy thing they're trying to portray, it's laughable. It really is. And teams are looking at them like, yo, y'all are really playing yourselves. For real. Y'all are really playing yourselves. So, that's all I want to say on that, man. But, I agree with you. This was a bad look on the NBA.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. But let's, speaking of bad, let's turn our focus to the play of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, all right, I said this before, and I'm going to double down on this. I personally, and I could be wrong, right? But I don't think LeBron is coming back. He's coming back to the Lakers, yes. But I really don't think LeBron is coming back. It doesn't matter if he goes from a walking boot to a sandal. It doesn't matter the levels of how much you can see his feet. That doesn't mean he's coming back. And I think he's going to have to come back for something. LeBron at this stage it's about legacy, right? And it's about a narrative. LeBron played at a high level. He played at an extremely high level.
No question.
He was able to successfully have the all-time scoring leader. He passed Kareem.
Yeah.
And that is an accomplishment. That's a brass ring. That's a feather in his cap, if you will.
No question.
Why would he tarnish that by being connected to a team outside of using the injury, connected to a team that 2 years in a row doesn't make the playoffs? I don't think he's going to do it. I think what LeBron is going to do at this point is he is going to be calculated. I think that the team has improved tremendously.
Right.
But for him to now work himself and risk further injury to his foot let's face it, the team is good and it has potential. But if LeBron is not 100% or even 90%, the team has no chance. It's not realistic to believe that the team is going to make it through the West and then be able to handle any of the teams in the East. AD, you guys barely won your last game. And if it wasn't for AR-15, right? Hillbilly Kobe, they call him, right?
Oh,
going on a 35-6.
Yeah. 35.
Anthony Davis had 15 points.
Yeah. Anthony was doubled a lot, but go ahead.
What was that?
He was doubled a lot. His shot production has gone down the last 3 games because they've been doubling him. So he's not getting the shots off and getting the attempts like he was a little bit earlier after LeBron went down. So yeah, so teams have figured it out and they letting other guys win. That's why Reeves got 35 points, and you're seeing other guys get what they get. But D, let me say this though. No, but here's the thing. I totally disagree with you, and here's why. You just said it. Because this team is good. LeBron wants to play with this team. I really believe he wants this team. This is a good team that really understands their roles, right? You really have some really good role, and LeBron loves role players, guys that know their lanes, know their parts, and all they need is some orchestration. Clearly, they're missing him because they don't have anyone that really knows how to consistently bring the game home, make sure guys need to be where they need to be, particularly in that fourth quarter. And so you can see the inconsistency from Schroeder to D'Lo. You got Reeves in there in the mix. The problem is with the Lakers, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty and the stretch of a game, that's when they seem to get lost, and they don't have the right kind of setups. Because I don't understand why Ham, in a lot of ways, still does not run the offense through AD in the fourth quarter. Even with him getting double team, and AD's got to do a lot better. He's never really been good passing out the double team. I'm noticing that even more so now. But you got to still run it through him, and I think he doesn't understand. Like, you got to set plays and stuff for Hachimura, who I think is one of the best mid-range shooters. I think that boy can shoot from the mid-range. He's
on the
deadly.
Lakers. He's one of the best on the Lakers.
We're
not going to make him the best now. Come on now.
He's actually
one of the best.
One of the best in the game right now. We got to categorize the best now in terms of a particular.
No.
I'm not saying he's as good. Like, okay, Booker and obviously DeRozan. These guys are definitely your
Kawhi. I mean,
Kawhi,
he's not
Chris Paul, but
yeah.
and I call him Rachi. But he is really actually very good in the mid range, and he gets the open shots. And so I think to say all of this, to get back to the LeBron thing, you said that you don't think he's coming back. I think he is. And like KD, LeBron still fares very well when he comes back from injury. He doesn't really have a slow start kind of thing. We all know how much he invests in his body. We know how committed he is to rehabbing and making sure he's doing everything to prevent an injury, and then how much he still puts in to get himself back onto the court. I think LeBron is definitely going to want to play with this team, especially this team. Now, if this was still a Westbrook type team and you had what you had before, then yeah, I would agree with you. I would think he would not have any desire to come back. I think he would see, look, there's no potential in this. But I think LeBron will come back. Yeah.
Have you noticed that the timeline keeps pushing back and back? This is the thing. Yes, he likes this team, but the people that are getting shots, there is a difference when you don't have a person that demands the ball, right?
Right.
So Anthony Davis, in LeBron's absence, should be the man.
Right.
But D'Angelo's taking more shots than him. When LeBron comes back, yes, there will be structure, right? But people now have to adjust to that structure. So are they going to be, will they be able to produce as much D'Angelo Russell or Hachimura or Reeves, when now the pecking order, they're knocked down in the pecking order? Because D'Lo looked like a world beater. He's cooled off tremendously.
Yeah, he's cooled off tremendously.
The other guy that was shooting really well, what's his name? Beasley.
Yeah.
He's Iceman.
Yeah.
No Gervin, but he's Iceman now. So I say all that to say that there is an adjustment with LeBron coming back. They played well in LeBron's absence, but that's because Anthony Davis doesn't demand the ball the way the star or a superstar should command the ball. This is my team in LeBron's absence, and really it should be his team when LeBron is present.
I agree.
We know that doesn't happen. But clearly, I think the adjustment will happen, and it will be the production of these players in LeBron's absence will definitely change. So I think LeBron is going to factor in if it's worth it to him, because I look at it like this. What tarnishes, I'm not going to say LeBron's legacy will be tarnished, but what would tarnish it more? He comes back for a first round exit?
Yeah.
Or if he has played at such a high level that people's focus is on the other stuff that he was able to accomplish in the regular season. And he has a fall guy. He has a reason why they didn't make it.
Right.
It was a combination of Westbrook and Anthony Davis not living up to what they expected him to be.
Right.
So it makes LeBron, it gives LeBron a huge pass because he could say, hey, when I was healthy, look what I was able to do. I'm averaging 33, 34 points a game.
Right.
I eclipsed, Kareem, and now I got injured. I had an injury, and now look at the team.
Yeah.
So I don't think LeBron is going to break his neck to try to, and let's keep in mind, the Lakers could have made those trades long before the trade deadline. They waited till the last minute and improved the team because there was people that were interested in getting Westbrook back then. So they had the 2027 and 2029 first round picks that they could have. So it wouldn't have been digging themselves out of a hole and teeter-tottering between out of the playoffs and the play-in.
Right.
Because I don't think the 6th and 7th is going to happen because I just think it's too tight.
Oh, no, it's definitely a play-in for them now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had way too many bad losses already.
They needed those victories.
Yeah, they did.
I think the Dallas one really hurt them because that would have been a pivotal one.
Big time.
So,
but what I would say though, D. But see again, I think you're proving the point of what I'm making. LeBron already has an out. Whether he plays or not, nobody is going to ever say if the Lakers either fail in the play-in or they get into the playoffs and get bounced in the first round. Nobody is going to, in any way, shape, or form, put that blame on LeBron. Nobody will because he's.
But they would never. They wouldn't do it anyway. So
that's what I'm saying. So he wouldn't tarnish his legacy. So coming back, there's nothing to lose. Like if it's about legacy, protecting legacy, LeBron's legacy is so intact and so impervious to any kind of criticism that there's nothing anybody can say, particularly because the way he played at 38 years old, averaging some otherworldly number like what he's averaging, there's no way anyone can ever say anything about LeBron. So whether it's no playoffs, play in and lose, get in the playoffs and lose in the first round, LeBron is cemented. No one's going to blame him.
And I'm
that's
not
what
saying,
I'm saying. So he has nothing to lose if he comes back.
No.
For legacy, because you're talking about his legacy, right? You're saying he's come back because he's.
I'm saying he, at this point in his career, he is focused and he is concerned with every detail of the narrative of the balance of his career, right? And so for him, I hear what you're saying as far as nobody would blame him, but nowhere LeBron has gone has he ever been blamed. It's always what everyone couldn't measure up to help LeBron, right?
Right.
And that would be the case also now, right? Because he did play at a high level. But my question is, what does he gain by coming and losing in the first round? Because they don't have a shot to win it all. But I understand.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what it is. This team is no different than next year, right? And I understand what you're saying.
But they have a lot more runway. They won't work themselves into a play-in and then they got to work their way out. Where other teams, But LeBron plays for playoffs. Like you got to understand, right? LeBron is always about, if there's anything he's going to come back for, it will be the playoffs. He lives for the playoffs. The regular season means nothing. Even if let's just say he didn't come back this year because his injury just prevented him from doing that, right? Not because of some calculated move or him considering methodically about his legacy or whether or not they have a chance to prevail. He just can't because he's hurt. You go into next season, it's still the same thing. The Lakers are still not going to dominate. They're going to still end up being middle of the pack, down in the lower seed, and LeBron is still going to have the mindset. Well, not necessarily.
We just got to make the playoffs. As long as we make the playoffs, that's all it is. Like LeBron just want to get in the playoffs. See, in his mind, if we get into the playoffs, anything goes now. It's a new season. I got a group of guys that are dogs. Like these guys are dogs. I mean, we're now, I think it's 7th now or 6th in the league in defensive efficiency. We were 22. We moved up defensively. So he
that's a big difference. If most of the season you were in the 20s and you're top 10, right, you'll have a whole season of being top 10.
But he don't care about a season. The season won't matter. See, if you're assuming that He'll have a whole season, because you make a good point about the Lakers not having any rope to hang themselves because they dug themselves too far in the hole, being late on the trades and all the time. You make a great point there. I definitely agree with you there. But if you start fresh with a long runway in the next season, it's really not going to make a difference. The Lakers are still going to end up, because you gotta again, it's hard to not assume this, right? But you're going to have injuries. You're going to have issues. You're still not going to be, it's not like you're going to all of a sudden be a top seed and you're going to have, 15, 20 games to play with. You're still going to be a middle of the pack team at the end of the day. And so when you look at it for LeBron, it's about, we got to just be able to get into the playoffs. If this team right now can get into the play-in tournament and LeBron is healthy enough to play, he's going to play and he's going to get his team in the playoffs. And LeBron would rather get into the playoffs and get bounced out than, I think, not to play at all. If he's healthy, I'm saying. If he's healthy, I think he's going to want to go ahead and play. But I think he likes his chances with this team in the first round. And can we beat a Denver or a Memphis, an immature team we just spoke about in Memphis?
Well, Memphis,
a team that's not playing well. I think we can definitely beat them. I don't think Denver's not scary. Denver is not scary at all. And the Lakers can definitely beat them if LeBron is healthy and with that defense.
Okay, so what does LeBron need to come back at? He needs to come back at what? 80%, 90%?
80, 85, somewhere in there, between 80, 85. If he's 80%, he's good. But 80% LeBron, and you talked about the pecking order. Listen, you listen, give me LeBron's 33 points over the myriad of inconsistent scoring amongst the rest of the guys. I'll take it every day. You know what I'm saying?
That's to assume that he's coming back and he's going to pick up where he left off.
Right.
He typically will take him a little bit to get back into the swing of things. I know you kind of slipped that in, but he does not come back in as seamless as Kevin Durant. He doesn't.
But the brain. See, LeBron, it's the brain. It's the systemic part that LeBron is not going to falter in once he get back on the field, on the court. Now he might be a little slowed here and different things. He's going to feel things out, but what he's going to do, he's going to make sure that these guys are measured, they're positioned properly, and that he's going to produce, just his presence alone will produce more consistency with them, because he's going to help these guys to understand. Like when we end up with Vanderbilt always in the corner shooting threes, right? There's a reason why Vanderbilt is wide open taking three. LeBron is gonna we're not doing that. Like Vanderbilt, we don't need that shot. Stop taking it. You can't shoot threes. And even though the corners are the high percentage threes, you're not a 3-point shooter. That's not what you do. Okay, you can't shoot threes. So we're gonna stop that. You understand what I'm saying? Like certain shots.
So then,
guys take,
so I get that.
Be able to adjust for them. Yeah.
He'll adjust those players, but then is he taking away what has actually brought the Lakers back thus far in his absence?
He won't. He's going to make it more consistent. See, these guys, and to your point, D'Lo's cooled off. Beasley's cooled off, right? Because these guys are role players. At the end of the day, and D'Lo is a good player. He could be considered a number 3. Depends, but he's a star. He's not somebody that's, gonna light it up throughout, with great consistency throughout. D'Lo is very good, but again, they don't have the consistency, and that's the thing you're missing, and that's what LeBron will bring these guys. So I don't think it'll fall to them. I don't think the guys will get hurt. In fact, I think their games will elevate, in fact, because LeBron's going to make sure that they're in the right position where they get the best and can maximize their skill in terms of shot selection and different things like that. Schroeder's done a decent job at times, but the Lakers have turned the ball over quite a bit, and that's another thing that hurts them a great deal as well. But I don't think the team will be hurt with LeBron. He can only help them. You can't be any worse than what you are, and they need LeBron. So I think he'll come back, D. I don't think his legacy will be tarnished, to your point earlier.
I think you're reading too deep on the I shouldn't say it that way. His legacy is not tarnished.
Okay.
I think he will be selective in what he chooses to participate in. If it doesn't net him anything, put it like this.
So let me ask you this question then. What does it net? When you say it doesn't net, so what do you believe in his mind he's measuring? What, like if the team can't get into a play-in, or if they have an opportunity to play in a play-in, you don't think he still will want to play? Like where's the cutoff for him to say, I don't think I want to come back if these conditions exist? What has to exist for him?
Well, I think seeding. I think if he would be more inclined to play if they winded up being, the 6th seed, because then he can save himself that extra game, that extra push to even make the playoffs. Because let's face it, even though Memphis is immature, even though people think and say Denver is not a scary team, Joker is consistent. And he may not be as good as Anthony Davis, but in a 7-game series, he absolutely is better than Anthony Davis. So I think he will consistently put up numbers. And if you look at, because you can't have a 35 and 17 and then go to, 12 and 8 the next
again,
game.
shot production though, but that's not because of AD. It's not like he shot inefficiently. He just can't get the attempts up because, again, as soon as he gets the ball, teams are doubling down on him.
So he's the only big man that gets doubled?
Yeah, because the thing is this:
I'm talking about in the league.
No. Other teams but other teams have better players that can shoot. Like if you got Maxey and you got guys like James Harden for Embiid and Jokic got guys, Porter Jr. and Murray. He's got guys that can actually shoot. We don't have those consistent guys like that. Like D'Lo is actually a good 3-point shooter, and so is Beasley, but they're not the kind of players that the other bigs have, hence their record and the success that those teams have in the regular season. So again, so it's different with AD. He's got some good, better role players around him, but they're not those kind of guys. And so when he gets double teamed, he's got to kick it back out to these other guys, and teams are like, hey, LeBron's not here, so we're not going to let AD just get 40 and 18 on us. We're going to just double down on him, and we'll let Beasley, let Schroeder, let AR, and listen, Reeves is not going to score 35 points again. It's not going to happen, right? No. So, it's an anomaly. So, again, those guys are not going to have those kind of games. And so, to AD's defense, he's not inconsistent because AD, we know AD all his career. AD can put up numbers consistently night in and night out, even when he was a bad team in New Orleans. But the problem is that they're just doubling down on him and he doesn't have anybody to really help. So he's not getting the shot attempts like he once had. He's got to get it through other means or quickly move into his move when he gets the ball, which is another thing he does. He sits there and he waits for the double team to come because he's expecting it instead of quickly going into his move and being able to put some pressure on the weak side. But he doesn't do that a lot of times. So, yeah, and I'll say this too. Bad loss, that all that is on him, as we already know. That whole sequence was all on AD. No excuse for that. That was a bad loss by the Lakers. I was frustrated. I was out of my mind for losing that game. So, but nevertheless, and it was so bad. Minnesota lost, Golden State lost. We would have had a chance to really, strengthen our position there, and wasn't able to do it. So anyway, but nevertheless, I'm rooting for your Nets. So I want your Nets to beat the Knicks. I'll put that on record.
Get out of here. Listen, speaking of strength in numbers, right? Yeah, strength in numbers. Let's talk about the Warriors. The Warriors. Oh man. Their road record is unbelievable. They've only won 7 games thus far on the road, the entire season. And so the level of, there's dysfunction there too. Not like Memphis's type of dysfunction. Right. But I just think everybody would love to say, you know what? The Warriors just know how to turn it on, and they're going to turn it on in the postseason. Yeah,
I was wondering.
Right? Foolishness, just like the Lakers. Once LeBron gets there, then everything clicks, and then they're taking off. Rocket fuel. It's all nonsense.
That's more likely to happen though than the Warriors, but yeah.
Okay, but in any case, they can't win on the road. As much as they have proven their dominance with winning championships and being a dynasty, I think that they allow sometimes playing against, let's say, Memphis.
Yeah.
They're able to muddy the water, and you got Clay counting out how many rings they won. Right. But you still have to produce now and beat Memphis. That's the way you shut them up. Not counting your accomplishments, but actually when you actually are playing them, beat them. And as of late, they haven't really been able to beat them with any consistency. First of all, let me say this. Okay. They did not know what to do with Wiseman. Wiseman is going to Detroit and is a double-double machine. He is balling out. Yeah. And what do the Warriors miss? Size. They don't have any size. They're a small team.
Yep, they are.
So when Steph drops 50 and your team still loses, that's bad. Clay is looking back. He's looking more like the old Clay that's actually scoring.
Right.
I think missing the biggest thing, and we didn't give him the credit that he deserved. But when you watched last year's championship, it was very much. Now we know Steph won the MVP, but the player that was the most impactful is Wiggins.
Yeah,
and clearly we see this year the void. Since he's been gone, the Warriors just don't have that because he was a two-way player. Defensively, he could guard, some of the toughest assignments, and also he could put up points. He could give you, 17, 18 points. So that was a valuable piece. Now we're hearing all kind of stories about Wiggins and why he's been out. I just hope it's not true. I hope that situation is not true. Time will tell, like everything else. It's going to come out what the true story is as to why he's been absent. They said he's been dealing with family issues.
Yeah.
And so, but certainly he is a missed player. I just think the Warriors are, once again, you had the Lakers. I think the Clippers, I'll say this, the Clippers, this might be their best shot because the West, although it's competitive and teams are close, some teams, there are areas where they're vulnerable and really a team that can kind of get their act together can really go all the way. What do you say?
Yeah, I say, and in the West, there's no dominant team except Phoenix with KD. So when Phoenix gets KD back, then that's when the margin kind of stretches a little bit there. But as the way it stands right now, it's a big melting pot of very competitive teams, and that's really all you have. And so it can go either way. No one kind of sticks out head and shoulders above another. But I say with the Wiggins thing, you're right. He's a major piece. And I was one of the ones that went on record to actually say Golden State was actually going to go at least at the minimum to the Western Conference Finals. That's where I had them at because I just felt like they were a team that, again, their pedigree, and their ability to kind of know how to navigate through certain situations within a season enough to get them into the playoffs. And so, but they can't win on the road, and you got to win some road games in the playoffs in order to be successful, unless you're going to have home court advantage, which clearly they will not if they get in. And so I agree with you with all that stuff. And but I'll say this, just to shift a little bit on the Wiseman thing. And again, we hope everything works out for not Wiseman, Wiggins. I'm sorry, excuse me, for Andrew Wiggins. We hope it all works out. But I gotta say, I don't know if you heard or saw that, but like Paul Pierce, I don't understand. I just don't understand. Like this guy really, I don't even know what to say. Like, you talk about immaturity. We were just talking about, we were just talking about these guys here in Memphis, right? Brooks and Bane now doing crazy stuff, and Paul Pierce, right? Hall of Famer. And this guy, I don't know if he understands what to do. I mean, I don't understand if he understands how to navigate himself through the culture. Now that he's not playing basketball anymore. And now he has no structure there with ESPN, right? Because they at least gave him some confinement too in terms of what he need to work into. But to get on Twitter and to say, I hope the Andrew Wiggins story isn't true. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you add, fuel to the fire and stoke flames and get people to get more, become more, instigating stuff there? It just didn't make any sense. And of course, Wiggins and his wife, I guess she had some retort and some things to say. But I mean, as a Hall of Fame player, right? You should know what to say.
That should be beneath him. That should be beneath him.
It really should. You shouldn't even be commenting on that. You shouldn't even have nothing to do with that at all, right? And that's the thing that, it just amazes me with all the stuff that this guy does. And I didn't like Paul anyway. He's Boston anyway. I hate the Celtics. So, he never really sat well with me anyway. None of them. I can't stand the Celtics even now today. But still, I just had to bring that out because I just thought that was really idiotic for him to say. you think somebody who's a Hall of Fame seasoned player, a guy that the younger players will even look up to, but clearly he's not that type of player, but a person. I would even say
he has no credibility.
none at all, zero. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah,
and I think we should not be surprised at what Paul Pierce says, right? Because look at his stance on Ja Morant. That whole defending, I carried a gun when I got stabbed. So I think he is he has a platform and he's abusing it. He's not making the most of it. And being a Hall of Famer, he would really be a source of information, a source of you would expect him to be a source of information, a source of wisdom. But he's just the opposite. He wants, because I forget the player that said to him, you're not Kobe. You're not getting a
that was Draymond.
I guess Draymond. Okay, right.
That was Draymond.
So Draymond told him that he wasn't Kobe. They don't love you like that. You're not getting right. And so I think it's something that gnaws at him, that he does have his ring, but I think it gnaws at him that he didn't get the love that he thinks he deserved given his career.
Right.
And I think that he is always looking for something to make himself relevant again.
Right.
And clearly saying that with no context and just leaving it out there. Oh, I hope what I heard about, Wiggins ain't true. And then just leave it because he wants thousands of people on Twitter. What happened? What is it? What?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then
right.
Him trending and being in and having mentions is just it's effective. Yeah, but when people look back and consider the source,
right,
they realize he's not a credible person.
No,
to even get information from. Nope. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, over the summer, hey, can we play together? Can we work out? Let me try to get something from you." He's not getting any of that.
Negative.
And clearly we see why. But it is what it is, man.
No,
unfortunately, we hope for the best for Wiggins and his family. That whole thing gets
for you, bro.
Ironed out. It's tough.
Yep.
Matters of the heart and issues, stuff like that.
Yep.
And respect people's family also.
Yeah.
If it's something like that, and if that is the case, then let it come out. And then if you need to comment on it, then you comment on it. But don't. And because you can create a situation where if that is the case, he could be dealing with it and trying to come to grips and wrap his mind around it. And then you doing that and people it's just one of those things where, by him doing it, he makes the matters worse, And I think that's the goal. When you do stuff like that, you want people to, stir up stuff and kind of keep it circulating.
Right.
But
kudos to the Warriors too for really showing him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Class organization.
And keeping it in-house. We don't really know. I saw someone on Twitter say this guy is supposedly leaking this story and he's using, Starbucks Wi-Fi to do it. And people are taking him as being super credible. But we don't know who this guy was, the guy that initially kind of broke the story. But they're like, this guy is using, Starbucks Wi-Fi and people are taking it as gospel. But, that's what people want. If people like gossip, people like, controversy, people like to, unfortunately, see people's demise or be in bad situations. It's the culture. It's the culture. It's the culture.
Facts.
But
yes, sir.
Lastly, let's talk about Dame Lillard.
Yeah.
He was interviewed and he was talking about basically the state of the NBA. The NBA that he came in is not the NBA that is kind of been morphed into today's NBA.
Right.
And basically he's saying that NBA players now have such a sense of entitlement based on a few factors. Getting a max contract, being drafted at a certain, round and position, And it's like teams are arbitrarily just handing over the keys to a team based on how the potential of these players that are drafted.
Right.
And so he said that there was too much emphasis placed on titles and winning titles.
Right.
And so he did mention that he is more concerned because he could have gone to another team. Sure. And of course, players would have nobody's going to Portland, but definitely he could have found himself on another team.
Right.
If he so chose to do that. Sure. But I'll say this. He's saying that people place too much emphasis on winning titles. He has made a lot of money playing, and he plays hard. He's a good player.
Very good.
But my question is why shouldn't fans expect championships from their team and from pay? Because the tickets, they pay your salary, right?
Right.
Part of that is going towards, merchandise, people with your jerseys and hats and all of that stuff contributes to this almost, this large, I think he's made something like over his career, 500 million.
Yeah.
So what does that say? I get it that there is an entitlement of these new players, but what is it to say that, hey, listen, I'm okay with not winning it all because I'm not putting the emphasis on that. I'm just playing. Nobody's playing for the love of the game because you're accepting a salary, right?
Right, exactly.
And you're re-ing up, right? So this is not a pickup game at the Y. So I'm listening to him and I'm like, okay, point, I hear what you're saying, but if that's the case, then just go to 24-hour fitness and shoot it from the logo. But you're getting paid, and there's an exchange, right? God. Even exchange is not robbery. People are expecting a great product. They're expecting each year that you at least try and attempt to make a championship and win a championship because that's the end goal, right? So for him to now, people try to make it seem like it's admirable, like, oh yeah, he's stuck with the same team and he doesn't care. He's just here for the love. No, he's here for the 500 million. And so I think that he owes the fans, and sometimes you can try to keep it real as far as, staying true to yourself. But is it really being true to yourself if you're getting paid to perform? And that's a performance. I mean, this is a performance game. They're expecting Portland to win a championship.
Right.
What do you say?
No, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, championships is the bottom line. It's sports. Sports has a goal, right? There's an ultimate, a pinnacle that you have to reach. It's not like, the average guy that goes to work every day, right? We're not engaged or involved with the bottom line of the company. No one's going to say, hey, the company is really excelling this quarter, and it's all because of that guy who works in that office building in the cubicle over there. He's really, because of him, we really, right? No one, you're just going to work every day to get a paycheck. You do your job. It's more routinized. You do what you do, and then that's it, right? But that's not how sports works. Sports works with, you got to win something, right? You're playing to win something, and so it is a fair expectation for fans who invested and they pay money and they're, emotionally, mentally, engaged. I mean, I'm all but losing it the other night. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I'm vested in my Lakers. I want to see them win. And you, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think what it is with this generation of players, I'd say this. It's just, I don't know. It's just this. It's a different mindset with these guys because the level of access, right, that these guys have in terms of the money they can make, the visibility that they have, social media has given these guys so much. So at the end of the day, there's so many other things that these guys are consumed with, whether it be socially, business-wise, where basketball is not just that thing anymore. right?
Mhm.
It's something that you do, but it's really more of a platform or a springboard to really get you into another place of just what it is that you want to be embraced by,
Wealth
what you
and
want to be
influence.
accepted
Yeah.
by, influence. So to me, this generation doesn't place emphasis on that because really the way the landscape is now, and to Dame's point, I do agree with that to a degree, because the competition doesn't have to be intense, right? Like you're not really coming against the guy across the court from you. You're playing against him, but at the end of the day, we're making millions. You're going to be on my podcast next week, and we're going to talk about,
Mhm.
the 40 you dropped on my team. And that's what we're going to talk about because we got to get these likes up. We got to get, this visibility going because we are more involved with the more cultural aspect of the game and not really the game itself. And it's a tough thing for the NBA as well because, and who knows, that indirectly could have been involved with the way in the NBA handled Ja Morant's whole situation, right? Because again, it's no longer about this guy's the great one, and he's going to be measured by his success on the court. Nobody cares. They don't care about that. And so when you and I'll say at this point for Dame, he's right because the league is a lot younger. There was a day when you had older veterans on a team and they were able to school guys. They didn't even play a lot of minutes. This is what he was telling JJ Redick in his interview. And they didn't play a lot of minutes. And these were guys that were, for all intents and purposes at the end of their career, they were kind of maybe just scrubs or whatever. But they've been in the league long enough to know what it takes to navigate through that, right? And they help the younger stars and the younger players had time to develop, right? It's not like years ago, a first-round draft pick quarterback would come in and he'll ride the bench for a couple of years behind the veteran before he actually got to play. Now guys are coming in, they got to start right away, right? The keys are handed over to them. They got to go out, they're the face of the league. So there is a lot of pressure on them in that sense. But now you have more of a juvenile kind of composition of players now on the team because you got one and dones, guys are coming out of college really early. So at some point, you're not seeing the veteranship on a team. A team is probably now going to be made. The guy who's played the most basketball has only got like 5 years in the game, out of a team because your teams are much younger now because of, again, one and done. Guys can come in a lot quicker. You're getting players overseas now. They're coming over here young, not playing any college basketball or anything of that nature. So I think the ring thing is important. People want that. I've always gauged, the as we've been talking the last couple of weeks, the great ones, at least in the sense of their rings. And what's funny? I'll say this, and I this is a take I will say. I listening to Mad Dog when he was on First Take. He did say something in that clip, though, that I thought was interesting when you look at that. Out of the 75 years of the NBA, D, when you look at that, right, you only got a handful of players that actually make up almost a third to almost a half of the championships that the NBA offered over 75 year span. So when you look at Bill Russell with 11, Jordan with 6, Kobe with 5, Duncan with 5. I mean, that in alone right there, that's 22 to 25 rings right there. Okay, that's a quarter of the 75 years the NBA been in existence, and only but a handful of guys actually have that many rings. You know what I mean? As far as the great ones go. So rings don't come often to a lot of people because, dynasties, they're winning rings. You got LeBron with 4 rings himself, and Shaq's got 3. And, you got guys that got multiple rings, and for the most part, they've made up a great deal of the championship winning. Kareem with 6, Magic with 5, Bird with 3.
Shaq has 4, right?
Shaq has 4. Excuse me. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
bad. 4. Yeah, he's got 4. So when you look at that, right now, that's only maybe 8 or 9 players I just named, and they pretty much make up half of the rings as far as the players that are on that 75 team, right? So it's a lot to say because we know Ori and Kerr, they all got rings too, and of course Pippen, right? They got rings too. But when you look at the greats that are on that team, right, the 75, greatest players, it's a lot to say that again, it does hold weight, and championships is something that I think is a fair expectation for fans and for media and voters and writers and those that are part of who goes in the Hall of Fame and all these other things like that. It does make a difference, and it should.
Yeah, I agree. And I think at the end of the day, a person's career will be capped off with either they were a champion
Right.
or they weren't. And
Correct.
so that
I
is,
agree.
as you said, the epitome. That's the reason why you play.
Right.
That's the reason why people play in high school to win championships, college,
Right.
March Madness. That's why they play NBA. Every level, there is something that you are playing for.
Correct.
And so I just think it's not realistic that people are playing for the love of it. And I will say this.
I agree.
When Dame came into the league and there was these older players, they weren't getting paid the way these players are getting paid.
Oh my gosh.
So we also understand that an investment, money going into it, the expectations of what they want to pull out of that investment change.
Right.
If I'm paying somebody 50 million or 45 million a year,
right,
I want production.
Right.
And I'm not waiting for you to get it together and develop. I need it immediately.
Need it immediately. Yeah. Need that.
So I think it's one of those things that because the pay, I think also when Dame maybe came in, social media was not at the level that it is now.
No.
So I think all of those play a part. So like you said, there is not that same hunger because at the end of the day, it's all millionaires playing, right? Multi-millionaires.
Yep.
In the case of LeBron, a billionaire playing on the court. So I can't hate you, right? Because we will be in San Tropez, in the summer. I don't care. At the end of the day, and this is why I always say, even when we get caught up in the passion of our team, right? And they lose, there really is no losers. The only people that lose are the fans because their emotional ties are greater than even the players.
Right.
Certainly greater than the organization because as long as the organization stays relevant and when it's time for season tickets, people are able to pay those PSLs or whatever they're called. That is all that matters. That is their determining factor if we're a good team or a bad team.
That's it.
What's our number, Doc? That's all. What's your number, Doc? That's all they care about. So they want to see where they are with that. And that's what they're determining. We're taking it personal that our team's lost or a player is injured and lost for the season. But this is not someone that is going to be discarded. This person is going to get the best care possible.
Absolutely.
Treatments round the clock. Massages. Hey, listen, massages. We're not talking about
not the Deshaun Watson.
Not the Deshaun Watson, but they get massages all the time. They're getting treatments. They get so. Listen, there is no loss. There is no, oh man, these guys, sorry for them.
No.
So
and you know what, D? And I'll say this, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I gotta say this to you, D. To your point is right, and I think it would be this. I think it would come across better, in my opinion. And I'm not saying I'm not reading what's in his heart, meaning Dame, right? But look, Dame, you said this earlier, D, when we started this segment here. Dame could have been somewhere and won a championship, right? If he called up a KD or LeBron or whoever, right, and said, "Hey, let's get together," that could have happened. But let's just be honest, Dame. You took the bread, right? Because if you was to play with another superstar, you're not getting that max contract, right? You got to split that with two other players that are on your level, right? Because you need at least a big three to win. So you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. So you know what? Nah, I'm keeping my bread. I'm gonna play with some, so you could, I want to see my team win.
Right. I like to play with my daughter, there's players that we wonder why, like Bradley Beal, as good as he is. Why aren't you? Why are you still playing with Washington? Because you chose the check over the ring.
Exactly.
And so you're not going to get both. More often than not, you're not going to get both.
You're not going to get both unless
you can get one, and then you're not going to have a career of being a playing and competing at a high level and always being in the championship, contention. At some point, one is going to have to give way to the other.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to sacrifice. If you want to keep championships, there's a sacrifice of pay and structure, and you won't get these ridiculous super max. Because you won't be able to keep any players.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't keep a team of minimum players, league minimums, and expect your team to be competitive.
Right. Exactly.
But you're getting paid. That's the trade-off. So if you're accepting the people of Portland's money, then they're coming there not to watch you in a holistic way of playing. Right. They want you to win. Championships. So they don't want, yo, man, I'm leaving the game, and we lost by 30, but he did it for the love. Right. No. Absolutely not.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, right? So if I'm a fan base in Portland, my question goes back to Dame. And I say, well, Dame, how come, you're not trying to do everything you can to get players to come to Portland, right? I mean, you're taking the money, just to your point. You can't build a team around you. Nobody's coming to Portland, right? We know that. So you're obviously okay with the situation being what it is. So, but then you turn it and deflect it and say, well, why does championships matter? No, it does matter to the fans. You see what I'm trying to say?
He's come to grips with he's not going to win.
He's not going to win. And he knows that.
In Portland.
So now it's like, you're not going to win in Portland. So now it's like, well, why do y'all care about rings? It shouldn't be about that. Because I know I'm still a great player. Yeah, we know that, bro.
Right.
But the truth is, you have decided that you want the bread, and you're not going to win a chip the way your team has been constructed, with you taking all that bread, knowing no one's coming to Portland, and we don't even know if he solicited anybody to come to Portland. We don't even hear Dame even talking about to other players and trying to get them to come, because who would want to play with Dame, right? Dame was a player people want to play with.
Oh, absolutely.
To Portland, but yo, bro, just come for 2 years. Just do a 2-year deal. Come through. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I ain't telling you to spend your whole career here. Come 2 years.
Let's try to make a run at it.
Let's try to make a run at it and let's see what happens, right? None of that.
I mean, you had another credible player, CJ McCollum. He got shipped out of town. And so the trade-off is, you wanted the money, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But then don't try to make it like, hey, I'm a purist for staying. But you are incentivized to stay.
Big time to stay.
When you stay at one team, the money that you're able to make. If you got traded somewhere else, they would not be able to pay you the super max money that you pay. And then once you get 10 years in, let's be completely honest with it. And I'm not knocking him, make your money, but don't try to take shots at people that ultimately want the confetti. They want to feel like I have accomplished. I'm at the pinnacle. I'm at the top. I am on the best team. We have won it all. This is what I have craved and I dreamed of when I was a child. When I first started dribbling a ball, it was to win an NBA championship. You got paid. That's the trade-off. But you shouldn't take shots at anybody who has maneuvered, because if you take it from the standpoint of what he's saying, ultimately what he's saying is LeBron should have never left Cleveland. KD should have never left OKC. Harden should still be there. Like any person who has moved, well, I shouldn't say Harden. Any person who has moved and won a championship, they should have never done that. They should have been a purist, and wherever they were drafted, that's where it is, and you just grind it out. Kevin Garnett should have never left Minnesota. You know what? Like, that's not how it works. But
D, let me say this before we go, just real quick. When Dame came in the league in 2012, right? He signed his first contract. It was for $3.4 million for 4 years. Okay, laughable money, right? Then he signed an extension in 2015 for a 5-year, $120 million. Right. And then in 2021, he signed a 4-year contract for $176,265,152, along with an annual average salary of $44 million. Right now, check this. Here's his contract breakdown. Right now, 2022-2023 season, he's making $42.5 million. Next year, he's going to make $45 million. And 2024, 2025, he makes $48 million. And then his extension kicks in 25 in the year of 25-26, that NBA season, he's going to make $58.5 million. And then in 26-27, at a player option in 26-27, $63 million, bro. $63 million. So listen, Dame.
It ain't all love, bro. It ain't all love in basketball.
It ain't all love in basketball. And D, you made a great point with that because they want nobody playing for the love. No, you ain't.
Right.
Because you ain't playing for free. This ain't a pickup game. They paying.
No, it ain't. It's not. No. They're paying you big money to play.
That's a lot of bread, man.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of bread.
That's a lot.
And that's a player option. So he could be 90-something years old, but you know how old he gonna be?
And he's not. And so he's talking a good one. He's talking. I don't see myself playing very, very long. You gonna play through that option though?
You play.
I don't want to hear nothing. I don't care if they have. Listen. I was about to say something I won't say, but he's gonna play through that option. I don't care what happens between now and then. You're going to play through that option.
You playing through that option, bro.
So you try, the way is people are entitled. I don't think I'm going to play very long. I can't see myself. You're going to play through 2027, whatever that money. You're going to play through that $63 million.
D, that contract, it's the 26-27 season. He playing through that contract, bro. That's a player option. So he's playing. He playing with that, no doubt.
Yeah.
60, oh my God,
that's And who's to say, because he's still playing at a high level, who's to say he doesn't get an extension on top of that?
Right. He could still get another extension, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
he doesn't have to wait till 2026, 27 to, get another 2 years. Because, I mean, what is he, 30, 32?
How old is Dame? Let me see here real quick.
No, he might be 30.
Oh, God. D, man, I can't even.
Yeah, he's just all. It's all for the love. Nah, it ain't all for the love.
It's all for the love. It's for the love of the game.
And I'm not knocking him. Make your money.
No, make your money, but just say that's what you're doing. Don't try to flip it back on us and say, well, why should we care if you ain't winning the championship now? No, fans when they paying you that money, bro. Yeah. So they want. He's 32 years old. So in 2020, So what is it? 2020. So what is it? So another 4 years from now, right? So he'll be 36. So he might still be balling pretty decent. Yeah. 36 is not that old.
It's not old. I mean, he won't have to. He won't have to shoot from the logo. And listen, he may be able to if he. I don't think he's pretty consistent. I don't think he gets in a lot of injuries. He doesn't have a bad injury history. So if he keeps himself up, it don't matter though. As long as he's alive, he's good. He's gonna get that. He's gonna get that paper. So what is he gonna opt out of it? Of course he's gonna get the money.
No, he's definitely gonna get that bread. Let's see. So when his rookie season, he played 82 games. First 3 years in the league, he played 82 games. Then he played 75 games.
Okay.
And then 75 games, 73, 80. That was in the 18-19 season. And then he went down to 66 games in the 2019 season. Then in 2020, he played 67 games. And then this year, he only played in 29. So this was his most injured season. But for the most part, he's giving you, on average, more than 65 games.
Well, the 65 games is probably going to be the standard. Because as he ages, they're going to load manage him. He probably won't be back-to-backs. Right. They got to preserve him so that for him to get that full $63 million. So he's just probably going to, So if he's, for the most part, averaging, all those numbers, he's probably averaging, 72 games throughout his career, pretty much, maybe high 60s.
Yeah.
So I think that's
The least amount of games he's played outside of this year, which is only 29. The least amount of games he's played in his whole career was 66 games.
Yeah. So I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah.
And so good for him. Good for him. But just don't try to sell us on some kind of emotional Nah. You got the check. That's fine.
That's it. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So right. We're gonna next show we're gonna discuss the moves that the Cowboys have made. Yeah.
And the moves the 49ers have made, and the
49ers,
Raiders, and there's been a
Raiders.
lot of movement. There's a lot of movement.
A
Teams
lot of movement,
teams
bro.
have gotten gutted. Eagles not going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I
Eagles
said they wasn't going.
Yeah.
Yo, they didn't even. Usually, Super Bowl teams get gutted because everybody wants to pay, and they have, now they got a little bit of jewelry to command this.
Correct.
That wasn't even the case. The Eagles played well. They were impressive last year.
Yeah.
They got gutted like they won the Super Bowl. So
you would think so, right?
You ain't worried. You ain't got to worry about them next year.
Nah, I'm not.
Now the Giants. You got to worry about the Giants. But I wouldn't worry about them. That's for sure.
No, I'm not worried too much about the Eagles. Yeah, not at all. And they made those.
The Eagle has landed.
They got to pay. They got to pay Jalen. They got to pay. That's really what they got to do. They clear space for him. So
that Eagle has landed.
The Eagle has landed. Yes.
Yeah,
so
it's over.
Not worried
it's over
about
for
the
them.
Philadelphia Feebles. So we're done with them. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but Rod, man, listen. Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music.
Aye.
Shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production.
Let's go.
Rod, shout out to you for being here, man.
Yo, man.
I appreciate it.
Always, my brother.
Excellent show. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And until next time, everyone, peace.
Peace.